When most people think of Spider-Man's abilities, we see images of the wall crawler using his web slingers to fly through high-rise cityscapes, or using his incredible agility to outmaneuver his fearsome foes. He also has his spider sense, the extraordinary ability to sense imminent danger. But by far, one of his greatest attributes would be Spider-Man's insane strength, often bubbling to the surface when entangled in dire situations involving incredible mental fortitude. We've compiled the 10 most ridiculous times Spider-Man displayed his strength, which start with the somewhat ordinary lifting of weights, slinging full-size vehicles, lifting up buildings, and one feat of strength so ridiculous that it nearly killed another familiar superhero. Number 10. Spider-Man the Powerlifter. To kick things off, legendary creators Steve Ditko and Stan Lee made it clear right from the get-go that Spider-Man wasn't just your average bug-themed teen superhero. He was an absolute beast with the irons. In one of his earliest appearances, the once unassuming Peter Parker showed a few of Marvel's heaviest hitters like Thor, the Incredible Hulk, and the Fantastic Four's Thing that he can roll with the House of Ideas buff big boys by deadlifting a huge, and we mean huge, barbell right in front of his peers. But seeing the look on their faces as Spider-Man effortlessly lifts the Olympic-tier barbell in front of him would make you believe that maybe there's more to Spidey's strength than the bullpen lets on. Because believe us, there is, not to mention, that the lore keepers at Marvel themselves mentioned that Spidey's strength was just bound to increase as he matured. Number 9. Spider-Man easily lifts a cab. Sure, lifting weights might be peanuts for any Marvel superhero, so you can bet that Spider-Man was bound to show us how swole he is outside of using gym equipment. Case in point, that one time he casually lifted a New York taxi cab to help EMTs get their patient to a hospital. Yeah, the wall crawler is usually branded as a street-level hero, but there's nothing street-level about carrying a couple of tons of metal over your head and not even breaking a sweat while doing it. Plus, points go to Spidey for even checking on the cab's tires and quipping with its driver while he held the car a few feet above the ground, which just indicates how this is just another day at the office for Marvel's resident web-slinger. Number 8. Spider-Man catches a truck. Know this, guys, a regular car weighs about a couple of tons, but a semi-truck is 10 times heavier than that. We're talking about 10 to 12 tons of metal here, and Spider-Man just got up and literally caught one in midair when supervillain the Absorbing Man hurled it at him. Granted, we get to see Spider-Man almost straining under the weight of the industrial vehicle when he does this. But he keeps on trucking and doesn't lose one bit of his trademark quippy wit, as he safely places the semi back on the streets of NYC before giving the Absorbing Man a much-needed dose of webbing to the face. Number 7. Spidey smacks the Green Goblin with a truck. Next up on our list of Spider-Man's greatest feats of strength is something that happened literally a universe away, as we see the ultimate version of Peter Parker from the now-defunct Earth 1616 grab a semi off the street and use it as a weapon to smash Green Goblin like a bug. Now, you might be wondering why this ranks higher than the previous entry, considering they both involve Spider-Man lifting multi-ton vehicles. Well, that's because the wall crawler was already battle damaged at this point after a long drawn-out fight with the Green Goblin and the Sinister Six prior to getting his hands on this truck. Just wow. Number 6. Spidey smashes tanks. Now, here's an instance that serves as a perfect example not just of how ridiculously strong Spider-Man really is, but of how much he's holding back on a daily basis. Because when push comes to shove, you can make damn sure that your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man is more than up to the task. During a mission that saw the Web Slinger tasked with extracting a kidnapped diplomat from the clutches of C-lister supervillain Paladin, Spider-Man ultimately found himself assaulted by a fleet of tanks when it was revealed that the same diplomat he was trying to rescue was shadier than Cyclops going to the local park. But instead of dancing around with his fine agility and reflexes to avoid these war machines shelling, as you'd expect from a hero like Spidey, the webhead decided to take a more proactive approach. That is to say, he just went on the battlefield, grabbed one of the 25-ton weapons of war, and smashed it into the ground. Sheesh. For a moment there, we thought we were reading a Hulk comic, guys. But no, this is just what happens when Spider-Man puts his game face on, and Spider-Man even gets creative with this whole exhibition of strength too. Because after wrecking one of the war machines with his bare hands, he proceeded to web another and fling it towards one more ill-fated tank. Number 5, Spidey helps land a plane. For this entry, let's take to the skies and talk about how Marvel's very own web-swinging savant saved sweet old Aunt May and her then-husband J. Jonah Jameson Sr. from a plane crash. In this particular instance, Aunt May and Jay, Sr.'s passenger plane, was having problems releasing its landing gear. And if Spider-Man wasn't there, they would have surely crashed and burned right on the tarmac. So the wall crawler swung his way right below the aircraft and brute forced that pesky landing gear out of its hatch. But there was one problem. The landing gear wasn't sturdy enough to take on the plane's emergency landing. It was going to get crushed under the weight of the plane's body. But no sweat, guys, because while the aircraft skidded through the runway, Spider-Man mustered all his strength to lift it by the nose until the plane lost momentum and came to a full stop. That's 55 tons that Spider-Man carried for a minute or two, a feat of strength that the likes of Daredevil or Iron Fist can only dream of. Number 4, Spider-Man's most triumphant weightlift. It's been referenced in the hundreds of comics that came after it, even the movies, and rightfully so. This moment early on in Spider-Man's superhero career stands as one of his most iconic feats of strength. The chaos that ensued when Spider-Man and Dr. Octopus duked it out inside the villain's underwater base so that Peter could procure a serum that would save his Aunt May inadvertently punctured the roof of the structure. This destructive fight ultimately led to the building collapsing on top of him. And though Spider-Man had already flatlined his nemesis, he found himself trapped under the wreckage. Now, we won't go through numbers here, but suffice it to say that the kind of weight Peter was under at the time would be enough to instantly kill other Marvel street heroes like Shang-Chi or Colleen Wing. However, this is Spider-Man we're talking about. And in one of the most memorable scenes in superhero comics, the then teenage superhero dug deep, remembering that he was not going to fail Aunt May the way he did his Uncle Ben. Spider-Man slowly rose up with numerous tons of gigantic metal pieces on his back, until, in one of comics' greatest moments, he ultimately prevailed and managed to lift the rubble off him. Number 3, Spider-Man carries an entire train station. We're seeing a bit of trend here with Spidey lifting vehicles, and you've seen him overcome ungodly amounts of steel and iron wreckage. But now you'll see the wall crawler deal with both. We're talking about that time Spider-Man literally lifted an entire train station with his body. This epic moment came after the web-slinger tussled with Dr. Curt Connors' monstrous alter ego, the Lizard. In his futile attempts to regain his humanity, Connors decided to create a machine under Penn Station that would help him get rid of his cursed reptilian transformations. However, little did he know that his invention had been rigged to kill him instead. Spider-Man tried to stop him, but the rabid reptile ended up destroying the sewers right underneath Penn Station, which caused the station to lose foundational stability. So the full weight of Penn Station and its train came crashing down on Spider-Man. Webhead even remarked that not even Thor or the Hulk could carry this much weight. However, Peter believes that all life is precious and desperate to save even the vilest of villains. Peter summoned all his raw strength to literally lift Penn Station train and all and topple it to get free and ultimately save the poor doctor from his tragic fate. Because that is what heroes do. Number 2, Spidey supports an entire building. What's more mind-blowing than seeing Spider-Man lift and toss a train station over his shoulder? How about that time when he literally supported the weight of an entire building on his back? And it wasn't just any building, it was the Daily Bugle. You see, Green Goblin was up to his old antics again, so Spider-Man did what he always does and defeated the supervillain. However, the grinning green-skinned maniac was able to set off one of his trademark Goblin grenades before Spidey could defeat him, which caused the Bugle's offices to crumble. To make matters worse, Spidey knew that his girlfriend, Mary Jane, was just across the street while this was happening. So if the Bugle fell, MJ would surely perish in the wake of its untimely demolition. Well, there's no rest for the wicked, so old Webhead sprang back into action right then and there to carry and support the building's weight-bearing beam, not just to make sure that MJ stays safe, but to wait until everyone inside the Daily Bugle's offices evacuated. Just imagine that, guys. Here we have a guy who has the proportional strength of a spider, which isn't nearly enough to lift an entire building on his back, much less carry it for several minutes. But with that tried and tested Parker grit, the wall crawler ultimately came through. And once everyone was out of the building, Spider-Man even swung around the vicinity to web up the base of the Daily Bugle and prevent it from toppling over. You can have your Hulks and Thors. Spider-Man is the true MVP of Marvel. Number 1, Spider-Man punches the Hulk into space. We've now reached the top spot for Spider-Man's greatest, most ridiculous feat of strength. And we have to say that you'd be hard-pressed to find anything that fits the bill better than the time the wall crawler punched the Hulk so hard, he sent him hurtling into space. That's right, guys. At one point in time, during Spidey's history, the web-slinger was infused with the Unipower, the same force that gave Captain Universe his abilities. As a result, Spider-Man gained an extra boost to his already impressive abilities, such as matter manipulation and, of course, even more augmented physical strength. So, when Hulk decided to take out Spider-Man in exchange for money at the behest of Sebastian Shaw, the raging giant had no idea that Spider-Man's not a simple bug he can squish. And when they met on Roosevelt Island for a good old-fashioned showdown, Spidey gave the Hulk a gut punch that sent him flying into Earth's orbit. Hell, even Pete couldn't believe how strong he was, as he watched the gamma-powered goon shoot through the sky in awe. And just to add insult to injury, Spidey realized that Hulk, at least at this point in Marvel history, was going to die without oxygen. So he flew to space and fetched the brute like he was a kindergartner, waiting for his dad to pick him up. Hulk would begrudgingly stop pursuing Spider-Man after this gesture, but we all know what's up. The web-slinger just humbled one of Marvel's deadliest super beings with a single punch. Now that's ridiculous. Can you think of any more ridiculous feats of strength from comic books? Leave your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching this video, and make sure to like and subscribe. Take care.